Welcome to the Compass for Being Human, where we educate the ego, emotions, and philosophy for men. Today I want to talk about strength. Not the version of strength we see sold online, packaged as dominance, status, or control, but the kind of strength that actually holds a society together. Because we live in a time where the word strong has been hollowed out, stripped of substance, and replaced with performance. The result is a generation of men who believe they are pursuing strength, when in reality they are learning how to avoid their own fragility. And nowhere is this more visible than in the myth of the alpha male. The alpha male myth claims to teach men how to be powerful, respected, and desirable. But when you look closely, it doesn't teach men how to grow stronger internally. It teaches them how to compensate externally. Alpha culture is not a pathway to strength. It is a coping mechanism for insecure masculinity. It offers hierarchy instead of depth, domination instead of development, and women as validation objects rather than equal human beings. It does not ask men to become sturdier people. It asks them to rearrange the world so they don't have to confront themselves. Real strength is not about how much force you can exert. It is about how much weight you can carry without passing the cost onto others. Emotional weight, relational weight, ethical weight. A strong man is not one who never feels anger, fear, or shame. He is one who can feel those things without unloading them onto the people around him. Strength is load-bearing capacity, and emotional literacy is the architecture that makes that possible. When men lack emotional literacy, they lack containment. They feel frustration, insecurity, envy, or humiliation. And because they don't know how to process those states internally, they externalize them. Anger becomes aggression. Shame becomes blame. Insecurity becomes control. This is not accidental. It is structural weakness. If you cannot name what you feel, regulate it, and take responsibility for it, someone else will end up carrying it for you. Often that someone else is a woman, a partner, a child, a colleague, or society at large. Alpha masculinity does not correct this weakness. It disguises it. It tells men that emotional self-regulation is unnecessary if they can achieve dominance. It reframes restraint as submission, empathy as softness, and accountability as humiliation. In doing so, it trains men to offload their internal instability onto external targets. And women, historically and culturally, become the most convenient target of all. This is where the myth turns corrosive. Alpha culture teaches men that women exist as proof of their worth. Attraction becomes validation. Rejection becomes insult. Autonomy becomes defiance. When a man's sense of self depends on women affirming him, women's boundaries start to feel like attacks. Feminism is then framed not as a movement for equality, but as an assault on masculinity itself. Consent becomes a barrier. Independence becomes disrespect, and misogyny becomes rationalized as self-defense. This is not strength. This is fragility in armor. A man who needs women to confirm his value is not powerful. He is dependent. And when that dependency is threatened, it curdles into resentment. The alpha myth doesn't produce confident men. It produces men who need constant reinforcement to remain functional. Men who crumble under criticism. Men who interpret disagreement as disrespect. Men whose identity collapses the moment they are not centered. True strength does not require submission from others. It requires coherence within oneself. A strong man can tolerate rejection without rage. He can be corrected without humiliation. He can sit with uncertainty without demanding control. He can experience stillness without disappearing. And crucially, he does not require women to shrink in order for him to feel large. This is where emotional literacy becomes a moral issue, not just a personal one. Emotionally literate men can anticipate their reactions. They can intercept destructive impulses before they turn into harm. They can pause between feeling and action. That pause is not weakness. It is mastery. Power without emotional literacy is just force with a poor aim. And history shows us that poorly aimed power causes damage far beyond the individual. But the conversation cannot stop with bad men, because the maintenance of harmful systems does not rely solely on those who behave badly. It relies just as much on those who stay silent. And this is where good men need to look honestly at themselves. Silence is not neutrality. Silence is permission. When misogynistic jokes go unchallenged, when feminist shaming is laughed off, when dehumanizing language is excused as just how he is, harm is being normalized. Not by monsters, but by decent men who don't want to cause friction. A society does not decay because everyone becomes cruel. It decays because accountability becomes socially inconvenient. Strong men do not look away. They intervene. Not with violence, not with humiliation, but with clarity. Saying that's not okay matters. Naming behavior matters. Withdrawing respect from misogyny matters. Accountability is not betrayal, it is mentorship. Holding men to a higher standard is not cruelty, it is care for the collective future. We are often told that calling out harmful behavior is divisive, that it creates conflict, that it threatens unity. But unity built on silence is not unity, it is suppression. And suppression always leaks. A culture that prioritizes comfort over justice becomes a breeding ground for narcissism. Because narcissistic behavior thrives where accountability is absent and harm is endlessly excused. Real masculinity is not proven through dominance. It is proven through responsibility, through restraint, through repair, through the willingness to stand in discomfort rather than passing it down the line. A man who can hold his own emotional weight does not need to dominate others. He does not need to belittle women. He does not need myths to protect his ego. His strength is quiet, durable, and visible in how little damage he causes when he has power. If masculinity is to evolve, it must move away from spectacle and towards substance, away from hierarchy and toward integrity, away from alpha fantasies and toward ethical adulthood. This does not make men weaker, it makes them trustworthy. And trust, not fear, is the foundation of any society worth sustaining. So the question is not whether men should abandon strength. The question is whether they are willing to redefine it, to stop confusing control with competence, to stop mistaking dominance for depth, to stop outsourcing their emotional labor onto women and calling it natural order. Strength is not about being above others. It is about being answerable to something larger than your ego. And that is where real masculinity begins. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.